Guys, and welcome back to my channel. So today we are here to talk about the brand new Morphe Foundation and Concealer. So if that is something you're interested in watching, then you're in the right place. We're about to get into it.
I'm a lone wolf. I'm a lone wolf. I'm a lone wolf. I'm a lone wolf. I'm a lone wolf.
Alright guys, so Morphe, they have come out with complexion products. We have foundation and concealer. There also is powder. I did not get the powder, so this review is going to be on the foundation and the concealer only. I figured I would go ahead and get this up for you guys, considering that I've had these products for a while. I wanted to try them, use them, play with them, wear them for a little while, but then I did want to get a video up specifically for you guys because I know that there are a lot of influencers out there that are pushing Morphe codes. They have a lot of influencers out there that are affiliated with Morphe and a lot of influencers that are financially vested in Morphe. So it is a little difficult when you're watching all of these videos, wondering whether or not the review that you're getting on these products is a review that is genuine. So I wanted to make sure that you guys at least had my opinion on these products. I'll be honest with you, going into these products, I really was going into them thinking of them as drugstore products, and I have to be honest, I really was going into this thinking that these products were going to be a disaster for me specifically because I have normal to dry skin, and I know that this is a matte formula. I know that the concealer is a matte formula, and this was not something that I was looking forward to really getting in and playing with, but we did it anyway, and I think you guys will find that the results are probably a little more surprising than I thought they would be. So first, let's look at packaging. Let's look at the foundation first. It is very simple, very unassuming. You do just have this plastic packaging. If you happen to be somewhere where you're near a Morphe store, keep in mind, or if these ever make it to Ulta, keep in mind that this is not the actual color of the foundation. This is actually part of the packaging. So the packaging is actually dyed this color, so you're not actually having a clear window here where you can see the product. So the outside is not going to be a good representation for you. So make sure that you actually read the description for each in particular shade. Outside of that, I actually like a simpler squeezy tube when it comes to components. I think that these are very artist friendly. You can just throw them into a kit. You don't have to worry about them getting broken. You know, it's very simple. And by keeping the component very simple, you actually can keep the price point down a little bit as well. So I don't mind the component. There is one thing that I mind about this component, and that is this lid. It is not very secure. I would like to have more of like an audible click when the lid is sealed. It's very easy to twist this off, and I've actually had this come off rolling around in my stuff, so just be aware of that. I mean, at the end of the day, the component is pretty cheap, but again, that's how they keep the price down. And you know, a lot of people out there are of the opinion of, I don't really care what the component looks like as long as the product inside performs. So for me, the component could definitely be better, but I don't mind it. The concealer is surprisingly something that I actually really do like. I think it's very sleek. I think it's very chic. You do have a really wide paddle applicator here. I'll give you guys a close-up of this paddle applicator just so you can take a look at what it looks like here. So I think the paddle applicator, again, is very wide, and it actually has a lot of fabric on it, which is nice because it really does help with the disbursement of product underneath the eye when you're applying the product. So I really do like the component it. I like the applicator. I think the concealer design is great. I think that's fine. And you do get 1 full fluid ounce in the foundation. Now the concealer has 4.5 mils of product in it, and just for a point of reference, the NARS Creamy Radiant Concealer, this actually has 6 mils of product in it. But you have ones like the Makeup Revolution Conceal and Define that everybody loves. This only has 3.4 mils of product in it. The NYX Can't Stop Won't Stop has 3.5 mils of product, and you actually have 4.5 mils of product in here. So not as much as some concealers, but more than other concealers. So I think it's right in the middle, and considering the cost is only $9, I think the amount versus the cost is fine. Okay, so let's talk about the foundation first. So another thing that I wanted to talk to you guys about is how I particularly wear this foundation. But before we get into that, let's talk about the benefits that Morphe is claiming when it comes to this foundation. So once again, we have a foundation that is claiming 24-hour wear. So it is claiming that it is a long-wearing foundation. It is supposed to be sweat-proof, transfer-proof. It's also supposed to be great for every skin type. It's also supposed to be free of oils, fragrance, and parabens. Now, when it comes to finish, they are claiming that you can do it up by simply adding a little bit of a emollient primer in with a pump of foundation and then applying it with a beauty blender and then setting it with a luminizing setting spray, and that's supposed to give you a glowy finish. And then they say for a matte application to go in with a really dense blending brush and to use that to really work the product into the skin and then to set it with powder, and that's how you get like a matte coverage with this particular foundation. So they are claiming that you can either go dewy or you can go matte with this foundation, but it's a matte foundation. At the end of the day, the foundation finish is actually a matte finish foundation. I get what they're saying as far as if you want to have a little bit less of a matte finish to your face, that you can do things like mix it in with a hydrating primer, use a damp beauty blender, and that will ease up on the matteness of the product. And they're right, it does do that. But at the end of the day, you need to understand that this is a matte foundation. Looking at the ingredients list for this foundation, you guys, it's right there with just a regular normal foundation. There is nothing special in this foundation. There's no fruit or seed extracts in here. There's no additional hyaluronic acid. There's nothing like good for your skin in this particular foundation. There is a lot of dimethicone. As a matter of fact, the number 1 ingredient in this foundation is cyclopentasiloxane, which is actually a dimethicone. They actually say that this is a lightweight silicone that has a very silky, slippery feel that functions usually as a skin or hair conditioning agent. So you know how in your hair conditioner it gives you kind of that slip to it. That's typically what these kinds of ingredients are for. It's for that silky emollient slip, and that's actually the number 1 ingredient in this foundation, followed up by water is the second ingredient. So this is a very dimethicone, silicone heavy formula, but it's a matte foundation, and most of them in like the drugstore space look pretty similar to this foundation formula. So it's not anything that I think is abnormally bad for your skin or anything that I would be like, oh, this is so awful. It's a pretty standard foundation formula. I do like the fact that they have kept all oils and artificial fragrance and parabens out of this formula. That at least says that they are aware of things that the beauty community overall as a whole has decided that we would rather do without. Now, when the foundation first launched, they launched with 60 shades. Now, it did become a little bit controversial right off the bat, which amazes me nowadays that an organization can come out with 60 shades and somehow that still manages to turn into a controversy. But some people were saying that the shades were a little funny, that they were staining the skin, that some of the undertones were a little off. And I mean, I get it. When you have 60 shades of foundation and you're really trying to match everyone's undertones, there are people out there that have olive undertones. There are people out there, especially older ladies, that also have even a little bit of a neutral, or dare I say it, a little bit of a gray undertone to the skin. There are a lot of undertones out there, and when you're creating 60 shades of foundation, then you're going to have to start dipping into those undertones out there that you don't typically see on the market. So when a lot of people look at those kind of odd undertones, they automatically think, well, who are they making that for? There are people out there that have very unique undertones, and typically those people end up having to work with a color corrector or a neutralizer and then have to put their foundation on. Trust me, I see it all the time. Having said that, I think that the actual color range itself is not that bad, you guys. They have 5 different levels that they have divided this range into. Level 1 is the light level. Now this has 12 shades just in level 1, and the undertones in this particular level range from neutral undertones to pink, peach, yellow, neutral with a slight green undertone. There are a lot of different undertones in just this first level. Level 2 is the medium level, and again, you're going to see undertones like peachy, golden peachy. You also see some light mediums with peach and yellow undertones, yellow and green undertones, neutral undertones. The third level is the tan level. Again, you have olive, which is a medium with golden green undertones. You have a neutral in here that is a deep tan that has a slightly red undertone to it. You also have level 4, which is the rich level. This also has 12 shades in it as well. And again, you're going to be seeing things like rich with warm red undertones, rich with slightly red undertones, rich with cool red undertones, rich with neutral undertones, peach undertones, neutral green undertones. And then of course you have level 5, which is deep, and you're still seeing the same thing. Neutral, warms, olives. You also still have some cool with peach undertones. So each level has 12 different shades. So you find what level that you're in, and then look at those 12 shades and kind of narrow it down to what your particular foundation is going to be, which makes it a little easier to shop online. I will say that I ordered my products online, and I've been playing with them a lot over the course of the past couple of weeks, and I really wanted to get to know these products before I brought them to you guys. I wanted to make sure that you guys had at least one voice out there that was going to give you an honest, unbiased breakdown of what these products really look like, feel like, and perform on the skin. I actually got 2 of the foundations. I got F2.20 and F1.120. So what I ended up doing was I ended up getting the darkest shade in level 1, and then I ended up getting the second to lightest shade in level 2. Now both of these are neutral undertones because that's typically what I am. So for me it was, is this going to be too light for me? Is this going to be too dark for me? So I ended up getting the foundation in level 1 that was light for neutral undertones, and then level 2, which was light medium for neutral undertones, assuming that one of these would be a match. And of course, the level 1 ended up being too light for me, and the level 2 is what ended up being my match. So I was pleasantly surprised with the fact that I was actually able to find my match online just by looking at the descriptions. And that tells me that they are true to what they actually are. If I would have gotten something that said light medium with neutral undertones and I put it on and it was very pink or it was very yellow, then, you know, I start wondering whether or not they really have nailed down the undertones. But they actually did a really good job in the ones that I chose. So I can speak to the performance of my shade and my shade only. So I'm sure there are some people out there that have probably had different experiences based on what your shade is. But my shade in particular was very easy to find, and it was a perfect match for me. So how did it go as far as use is concerned? Well, I'll tell you about it. Honestly, you guys, not as bad as I thought. Let's get into some application here so you guys can see what I'm talking about. And notice as we get into this application how incredibly full coverage this foundation is. All right, guys, so here I just want you to see how I applied this. I did prep, obviously, with a really good moisturizer, and I did some additional things, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about that after we talk about this foundation. But really, I just use a beauty blender and just bounce it into the skin. I think for me personally, using a damp beauty blender helps me, especially when it comes to a matte formula. And honestly, you guys, on first application, it looks so good. It covers everything. This is genuinely a full coverage foundation, you guys, and it spreads nice and evenly. It applies beautifully onto the skin. I was genuinely shocked when I applied this foundation. I didn't expect it to be such a pleasure to apply. I think it really went on very, very nice. I think that using a moisturizer prior to putting this on the skin is great for prep. There's also a couple of other things that you guys can do for prep if matte foundations scare you. But if you're an oily girl, then this foundation is definitely going to be one that you, I think you might want to check out, because it does do a great job at controlling oil production throughout the course of the day as well. But as far as application, you guys, it went on nice and smooth. It looked really good. It covered everything that I wanted it to cover. I was able to build it up a little bit in places where I have hyperpigmentation, and upon initial application, it didn't look cakey when I first put it on. And overall, the application went great. It looked beautiful on my skin, and I was genuinely surprised. Now, one thing that I do want to talk to you guys about, for all of you normal to dry girls out there, you are going to have to treat this foundation like a matte foundation. So one of the ways that you can really prep and set your skin up for success when using this product is to make sure that you go in with a great moisturizer. One of my favorites, and I don't know if you guys know, but Wander Beauty has come out with a brand new moisturizer that is absolutely stunning. This moisturizer is called Dive In, and this moisturizer claims to give you 72 hours of hydration. Now, I don't wear this for 72 hours without washing my face, because I never go 72 hours without washing my face, so I don't know about the hydration for 72 hour claim. But I can tell you that when I moisturize my face with this first thing in the morning, my face feels hydrated and soft and beautiful all day long. It plays nice with every foundation that I have worn this with. This is a stunning moisturizer. I don't like moisturizers that I put on that leave like residue on my skin. I like a moisturizer just to sink into the skin and do its job. And this moisturizer, you guys, if you haven't checked this out, check it out. Guys, this has niacinamide in it. It has hyaluronic acid in it. It has squalene in it. It also has 13 different fruit extracts in it. This moisturizer and the ingredients list to it, I can't say it enough. It's amazing. If you haven't checked this out, check this out. I definitely know you can go to wonderbeauty.com and check it out there. It's called Dive In Moisturizer. This is thebomb.com. So, before going in with this particular foundation, make sure that you're hydrating. This is a fantastic hydration tool for you to use. Second, if you're going to use a primer, use a hydrating primer. So you can, this is where you guys asked me before in that video that I did when I mentioned layering. This is how you layer moisture into the skin. So if you're going to go in after a moisturizer with a primer, make sure it's a good hydrating primer. For this particular foundation, I went in with my moisturizer and then I went in with a good moisturizing primer. Now for me, that is the Too Faced Hangover RX. This is a great moisturizing primer. I've used this primer with this foundation. I've also used the Laura Mercier hydrating primer with this one as well. This is a great hydrating primer. Milani makes a great hydrating primer. If I'm not mistaken, Morphe has a hydrating primer on their website. So if you're going to use a primer before going in with this foundation, use a hydrating primer. And then for me, I let all of that sit in and I really let that sink into the skin. And then before I go into actual makeup application, I do one more layer, and that is a setting spray. I will spray my bare face before I go in with my makeup. I will use my moisturizer, I will use my primer, and then I will go in with a moisturizing setting spray and just give my face a good spray before I apply my product. Now, I can use the Hangover 3-in-1 spray. I also love the Tatcha, the Luminous Dewy Skin Mist. This is fantastic. The new Beauty Blender Redo Setting Spray, I like this as well. I just can't use as much of this one as I can the other ones because this one is a little thick and I can find that you can overdo it with this one. Morphe, you guys, the ingredients list on the Morphe setting spray is really stunning. This is a great hydrating setting spray as well. You could spray this on your face first. So I do moisturizer, primer, and then I spray my face with a good hydrating setting spray. I let all that sink in for a second, and then I go in with my foundation. Now, after I've applied my foundation, I let it set down, and then I will go in with another layer of a hydrating setting spray. I'll take a beauty blender and I will bounce that hydration into the foundation and get it good and bounced in, and I will let that set down. Then I will go in and I will do my concealer, and then I will do any other cream product on my face that I need to do. After all the cream products are done, before I go in with any powder, you guessed it, I go in with another layer of a hydrating setting spray and I bounce everything together. Then I finish off with any powder products that I have, and then before I walk out the door, one more time, I just set my face with another shot of the setting spray. Now, I do this because I'm kind of a moisture freak, and I'm not somebody that likes a really dry, matte foundation. And I have found that that makes this foundation a beautiful match for me. Just layering before I use this and while I'm using it, and once I've got my full face done, for me, gives me a beautiful day with a beautiful foundation on, especially because it's so incredibly high coverage and there is a really high amount of pigment in this foundation. So it is really full coverage. But for me, that's the perfect way to wear this particular foundation. Now, I did a wear test, and I want to show you guys the results of that, but I do want to preface this by saying, for the wear test, I simply moisturized with my moisturizer, and then I just went in with a hydrating primer. That's all I did for the wear test. So just, you know, fair note to self, I just wanted you guys to know that, because, I don't know, I think it's kind of cheating if you layer all this moisture on, and then you go, oh, look, the foundation does fantastic. Well, of course it's going to do fantastic, because I've made my skin nice and plump and hydrated. But I wanted you guys to see how this was going to perform with just a basic moisturizer and just a basic primer on that anybody or any one of you guys could have at home. So I'll show you guys the wear test here. Okay guys, we are going to sit down and do a check-in really quickly because I just looked at the time and we are rolling up on the 5-hour mark. So I want to check in and see how we are holding up. So I'm gonna set you here really quickly, and I am going to take a look at what is going on really quick. So Huh. Okay, so what I expected to see, to be quite honest with you, was some sinking into my smile lines right here. And that does not appear to be happening, which is good news. What I do see happening is the emphasizing of some wrinkles that I have up here on my forehead, which means the product is sinking into those wrinkles. I don't know if you guys can see the product in there, but the product is sinking into these lines, which is emphasizing all of this. But it's surprising that it's not doing it on my smile lines, which means, so these are a lot deeper than my smile lines. So the deepest of my wrinkles, the product is settling into those wrinkles, but not in my smile lines. Still not a big fan of that look, but there are some solutions out there that I could use to offset this a little bit. The only other thing that I'm seeing right now is we have a little bit of caking going on right in here. It's not bad. It's just a little bit right in here around the edge of the nose. A couple of things that I'm actually impressed with is the amount of coverage that I still have on my face at the 5-hour mark. I didn't expect for this to, I expected this to start coming off on my nose, forehead, chin. To be honest with you, I kind of had this in my head in like a drugstore kind of category, I guess. So I expected to start seeing it breaking down around the 4 or 5 hour mark, which is why I wanted to come in here and do a check-in when I saw that we were rolling up on 5 hours. And surprisingly enough, you guys, the coverage is still there. Like, it's still covering up all of my hyperpigmentation that I have over here. It's not coming off the end of my nose. It's not coming off of my chin. My T-zone is not oily at all. With the exception of it caking up a little bit right here and sinking into my larger lines up here. It's doing better than I expected. I'm actually kind of shocked, to be honest with you. Huh. It actually looks good, you guys. It does look good. All right, we'll see how it holds up. I'll see you guys in a few. It has been a really long day. So, my husband and I actually went out to dinner, and I ended up getting a little glammed up. Oh, man. That feels good. But I didn't touch up the foundation any. I have got to start putting these eyelashes into like an eyelash container because my husband sees them and he thinks they're bugs. Okay. Final check-in. I don't even know how long this has been on. I have to look. Oh, wow. It's almost 1 o'clock in the morning. So this has been on for 9, 10, 11, 12, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, we're on 11 hours now. So let's take a look at what we're dealing with here. Oh, wow. My lipstick is still on. And you know what, guys? I tried the Morphe liquid lipstick, and I've eaten dinner and everything, and it's still on. This liquid lipstick is pretty good. This is, I don't even know what this is. This is Jealousy, and I guess it's just their matte liquid lipstick. This is good. It stayed on while I ate. Look at that. Not even like gone on the inside or anything. Huh. Alright, so right off the bat, I can already tell you guys like where it's breaking down. So like here, it's starting to come off a little bit. It's coming off in my smile lines now, where it wasn't doing that before. But it's still not like in my smile lines, you know? Like it's not cracking. This side is a little bit, but not bad. My forehead lines are are still bad, but most of the product is gone from up here on my forehead. It's starting to fade here because some of my hyperpigmentation is coming through. And it's kind of fading in spotches, so you can kind of see like the splotches here where it's starting to come off. This side doesn't look as bad, but it's still coming off a little bit. I'm pretty sure it's gone off like my chin. My nose doesn't look that bad though. It does cake up like right in here. You see that? Where it gets cakey, like all in here. Yeah. That got cakey, and it looks like it's disappeared off of like right here on my nose. And probably the same story over here. It's just disappeared off like right here is gone. So like right here is pretty much gone. But I mean, honest, you guys, I would honestly expect this to look a lot worse if it was like just, you know, a basic drugstore formula. Usually they don't last on me like past the 8-hour mark. But I mean, it doesn't look that bad. Even in the places where it's kind of fading, it's fading gracefully. You know what I'm saying? It's not like a complete train wreck. Yeah, after 11 hours, I mean, I could probably touch this up and be okay. Overall, you guys, not bad. I mean, I don't hate it. It's not bad. I could sit here and pick it apart, you know? But you gotta ask yourself, how many other foundations would I not be able to pick at after like 11 hours of wear? You know what I'm saying? So it's not that bad, you guys, especially for the price. It's just not. It's just not. At the end of the day, it wears pretty decent. Pretty decent. I think this is the longest that I've really pushed it. I've worn it for like 4 or 5 hours here, you know, yeah, about 4 or 5 hours here, 4 or 5 hours there. But I knew that I wanted to do like a wear test for you guys, and I knew that was the day I was going to keep it on like all day long. So this is the longest that I've worn it. On other days, I've tried it with different prep, and I've layered it. For me, layering it with a lot of different layers of moisturizer and setting sprays is the best way to do it. And it looks pretty on my skin, and it lasts for like, you know, 4, 5, 6 hours. But this is the longest that I've worn it. And honestly, if you would have asked me earlier this week if I thought it would make it to 11 hours, I would have said no. I would have said this isn't going to make it to 11 hours. So I'm actually shocked. I mean, for the most part, it's not that bad. It's just not. I mean, there's a couple of things I could do without, but if I'd spent $60 on this foundation, I would be saying it should definitely look better than this at 11 hours. But at the end of the day, it's not that bad. It's just not that bad. So the foundation itself really surprised me. It is a very long-lasting foundation. And with the exception of like a couple of things, you know, it does tend to get a little cakey around this area. You know, once you start rolling up onto that, really pushing it with the foundation, that 9-10 hour mark, you can start to see a little bit of fading here and there. But honestly, you guys, nothing where I would be like, I don't like this foundation. It was breaking off. It was separating. It got really heavy. It felt really cakey. None of that. I didn't experience any of that since I've been using this foundation. I honestly was shocked, you guys. I think it's a very decent foundation. I think that if you're a normal to dry girl, that you actually can wear this foundation, provided that you do some really basic prep on your skin. I think if you're an oily girl, you'll love this foundation because it's going to control oil throughout the course of the day for you. I think, considering the price point and considering what it is, which is basically a competitor in the drugstore space, I think Morphe did a good job with the foundation. The foundation is surprisingly Erica approved. Now let's talk about the concealer, you guys. So the concealer actually has 30 shades because you have the same 5 levels that the foundation has. and each level has 6 options for you. There's actually 31 shades because they have a white one as well that you can use to cut your crease, etc. But as far as concealer shades that you want to look for normal concealing, aside from the white, there's 30 shades to choose from. So again, you're functioning with the same 5 levels. You're functioning with light, medium, tan, rich, and deep. And each of those levels has 6 different options underneath it with lots of different undertones available as well. So I think overall they did a really good job at attempting to make sure that everyone has a concealer that's going to work for them. Now, I did the same thing with the concealer option that I did with the foundation because I wasn't sure what my match was going to be. So I chose C155 and C215. So I got the darkest on the first level, and then I got one of the lightest on the second level. So I kind of did the same thing. This is a light with neutral undertones, and then this is a light to medium with neutral undertones. And again, I was the light to medium with the neutral undertones, same as the foundation. And honestly, you guys, first application of this concealer looked really, really pretty. I was kind of stunned with the amount of coverage that you get from this concealer. This concealer, however, is a drying concealer, so it does have a matte finish. And when it comes to concealer, dryness out of a concealer is a little bit trickier to offset. As far as the formula goes, they're claiming 16-hour wear. Again, they're saying sweat-proof, transfer-proof, waterproof. They're also saying that this is free of fragrance and parabens, as well as it being ophthalmologist tested. So that is the formula itself. It is very much a dimethicone heavy formula, but I was holding out a little bit of hope because there is some shea butter in there and some olive oil in there and some things in there that would help a little bit to offset the dryness. But at the end of the day, it is a drying formula. This is not as drying as Shape Tape, however. The Shape Tape for me still seems to be one of the drier formulas out there. I think the NYX Can't Stop Won't Stop concealer is also drying. This is not as drying as those. So I actually found this concealer tolerable, as long as if you have a dry under eye space, just make sure that you're prepping with a good under eye cream. Now, with the concealer that is as thick as this one is, that is pretty dimethicone heavy and is also a little bit on the drier side, you are going to notice that when you set this with powder that it is going to give you a little bit of a dry feeling as the day goes on. But before we get to wear with this concealer, let's take a look at application here. One thing that I can tell you is that the neutral does have like kind of a peach base to it, so it's excellent at counteracting under eye circles, and I think it did a really good job at that for me. I really enjoy using the concealer because it is such a high pigment concealer that it does cancel out any kind of under eye circle that you have, and if you got one that was your skin tone, you would also be able to correct any blemishes on the skin as well. I think pretty well, because the level of pigment in this is pretty good. It is definitely a full coverage concealer. I did notice that it is buildable. I wouldn't go too crazy with it though, because it is a heavier formula, so you will find that it'll crease pretty quickly on you because it is a heavier formula. But because it is so high coverage, I don't really think you need that much. You can get away with the less is more approach with this particular concealer because it is so full of pigment. I still prefer my Jouer over this one, obviously, because the Jouer is made for under eyes that need some hydration, but I will say that this was tolerable if I prepped my under eye with a good eye cream and then I use this on top of the eye cream. It actually looks really pretty. It wasn't until I got to that 8-9 hour mark that I really started running running into a very dry under eye, and I'll show you what I mean here. So you can just start seeing here at around that 8-9 hour mark that it's just starting to emphasize the lines, the fine lines underneath my eyes, and it's just drying out. Now you can see that it's not actually falling into my lines, so the product doesn't necessarily settle and crease once you've set it. If you make sure you pat it out and that it's creaseless when you set it with powder, it genuinely won't crease on you and it won't move. So I didn't have to worry about creasing with this concealer once I set it because it does stay put. For me, it was just that dry, kind of cakey under eye look. Now, a couple of things that you can do throughout the day. Now, this photo was without any touch-ups throughout the day, but a couple of things that you can do throughout the course of the day is you can take a beauty blender and you can spray it down with a setting spray and then just simply dab it underneath the eye, and that will kind of rehydrate that under eye area and bring it back to life a little bit and offset some of that dry cakiness that you have going on. You can also do that to your foundation throughout the day. If you find that the foundation is caking a little bit around your nose like it did for me in my wear test, you can fix that by just going in with a setting spray and really just kind of targeting those areas that are getting a little cakey on you. It's a quick matter of a touch-up and then you're good to go. At the end of the day, guys, we really have to look at these products for what they are. The formulas are not overly expensive luxury formulas. They are very affordable drugstore-esque type formulas. And considering that that is who we're kind of putting this up against, then you guys, these are really good products. They're very inexpensive, so they make it very affordable. Everybody can afford it. I think that anybody could really make these products work for them. Whether you have dry skin, normal skin, or oily skin, I think you can make these products work. Are they the best in the world out there? No. Is a $9 concealer going to do as good as my $25, $30 concealer? It's not, but that's because this has things in it like hyaluronic acid and ingredients that are a little more expensive to put in a concealer. But considering what this is, it's not a bad formula, and it's something that you can play with and make it work. At the end of the day, the crucial things are there. The coverage is amazing with both of these products. Longevity is there with both of these products. So those are like the two biggest things that you really want. You really don't want your makeup sliding off your face, and you want your makeup to perfect your complexion. That's what we look to our products to do, and both of these products do that. So at the end of the day, I'm going to Erica approve both of these suckers. I think at the end of the day, they both do their job, and they do it pretty good. All right, guys, well, let me know what you guys think about the Morphe Fluidity launch. If you guys have tried the foundation or the concealer, I would love to hear from you. Are you guys surprised that Morphe complexion is Erica approved? I'm surprised. I'm actually pretty shocked, to be honest. I did not think this review was going to go that way. I honestly was not expecting this review to go that way, and I will just be honest with you guys. I expected for these products to be garbage, and I think it's because when Morphe first came out, a lot of their products were really inexpensive, and their brushes were falling apart. Some of their palettes were just, But I can honestly say that over the course of the last couple of years, since Morphe, I know they got an investor in the last couple of years, and they've kind of rebranded the brand. I mean, at the end of the day, you can tell that they're focusing on trying to get the quality up there, and I definitely can see it in these two products. So, I mean, at the end of the day, guys, these products are not bad products, but let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. By the way, if you're new here, welcome. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button on your way out, and follow me on Instagram at Erica Approved. Make sure you guys send me a DM if you have any questions, and as always, I hope you guys are very happy and very healthy, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.